Hi everybody, welcome to my homestead and welcome to my channel. This is comments episode 3, where I go over your comments and respond and give you a chance to say what you want to say here on the channel so that everyone can hear it, not just read it. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, like this video. If you end up liking it, hit the notification bell, leave more comments, and we'll do more episodes like this. And share this video with anyone you think might be interested in it. So we're going to start off with Fred Hillier. He says, this is in response to my comments episode 2 video. We've been told that the spectacle of the return of the 10 tribes will take over the conversation for the great Exodus. Jeremiah 16:14 through 15. It seems unlikely that people would say, you know, quote, you know how Moses led the Israelites through the Red Sea on dry ground? That's nothing. We did some amazing missionary work in Europe. I think there is some spectacle in store. Well, and that's check out my last video. In the video before that, I don't think that it's necessarily meant to be a spectacle or something that, in terms of like being amazing, like in a miraculous way. I don't think that's what it's meant to be. The basically the conversation is supposed to change from just like how the Jews right now they um, still commemorate the feast days like Passover, Feast of Tabernacles, Pentecost, or Shavuot. They're still focused on the remembrance of the Exodus out of Egypt, right? But we are now beyond that. Christ has come and the church has been restored in our days. And now we're gathering in Israel from all throughout the world. So now, just like in the last video that I did, that it was a talk given by President Nelson, which was then Elder Nelson at a fireside. Um, he was talking about how the conversation has changed. That now we commemorate the Exodus from basically led by Brigham Young from the United States into Utah, which later became the United States as well. But basically the pioneer trek. And anyway, just go watch that video. There's actually a lot to that. Um, Let me look up the scripture that you're referring to though here, because this wasn't in my video. Jeremiah 16:14 through 15. Give me just 1 second here. I'm on the church website, scriptures, Old Testament, um, Jeremiah chapter 16. I'm sorry, what was it? 14 through 15. Um, okay, therefore, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that it shall no more be said, the Lord liveth that brought up the children of Israel out of Egypt. But the Lord liveth that brought up the children of Israel from the land of the north, and from all the lands whither he hath driven them, and I will bring them again into their land, and that I gave unto their fathers. Wow, that's like exactly the same as is the one that I covered in the last video. Anyway, I'm not going to look it up, but it's just talking about how we're no longer going to be talking about the Exodus. The Exodus was meant to remind Israel of what the Lord had done from them, that they are a covenant people. But specifically, like with these feast days, not only to remember the Exodus, but to look forward to the future, right? We know that the feast days were, at least several of them, were completed by Christ himself. And then there was Pentecost when the Holy Ghost came to the church, and that story is in the New Testament. And then it seems like for the fall harvest feast, we're looking for those to be fulfilled, which the first one of the fall harvest seems to have already been completed by Joseph Smith with the Feast of Trumpets. So I would say that the conversation definitely has changed. Our church, we don't do the whole Passover thing. We don't do the other feasts. Maybe we will in the future, but we're solidly focused on the current gathering that's taking place all around the entire world. It's not just North Europe. We're literally going throughout the entire world, which is something that Jeremiah never could have imagined, right? Because back in those days, they didn't have the technology to be able to travel quickly around the world, and we've been everywhere. to him, that would have been amazing. But he didn't say that it would be amazing or a spectacle in that sense, just that there would be a hinge point, so to speak. So I'd have to disagree with you on that, but that's okay. It's okay to disagree. Betty Horn. This is on comments episode 2. Um, to narrow down your search when you get there, there was a general authority, and I believe he was one of the apostles who talked about a pilot who actually visited this place in the North Pole. And that pilot would have been Admiral Byrd. He was a Navy admiral, but also at some point he was also a pilot. The visit took place sometime between World War II and 1949. I don't remember much more of the story except that it was a pilot and one other person. Uh, it was a backup. It was to back up what an earlier apostle had said about where the 10 tribes were. I just wish I could remember the earlier apostles' names. Someone like Heber J. Grant. That era of church leaders. I know I just created mud, but it's the best I can do at the moment. That's okay. Um, I've read both stories, but it's hard to sort out this stroke brain. Sorry. Yeah, this is actually, I remember hearing this story back when I was a teenager. My uncle told it to me. He's actually only like a few years older than me. But he told me about the story about Admiral Byrd, how he went to the North Pole. There was a opening that he was able to fly into, and then um, he basically ran out of. Well, I don't know that he didn't necessarily run out of fuel, but I guess they filled his plane back up with fuel that was even better than the fuel that he was using, and um, I've been researching that quite a bit actually before I even started doing the YouTube channel. You can go to channels like Robert Seffer. I'll put the link to his channel below. He's an anthropologist that does really, really good, solid research on things like this. And in one of the videos, I was trying to find it so I could link it in this video, but in one of the videos, he goes over that entire account, which supposedly comes from the private diary of Admiral Byrd. Whether it's authentic or not, I don't know, but it goes over that entire account. It's just, I don't know if that's real. I don't know. Because when it comes to things like this, um, people can get really excited, and it's not to say that it's not real, but sometimes when we know that there's hoaxes, right? And that there's an incentive to create hoaxes because it draws attention to yourself. That for some people, that's their sole goal in life, is to live off of attention from others, and that kind of gets into narcissism and harvesting narcissistic supply. You'd have to research that. I've decided I'm not going to make that a main point of my channel like I was originally. Clearly, there's enough content just to talk about just church things, church news, go over general conference talks and all the stuff I've been doing recently. So, but anyway, um, I think we have to take that story with a grain of salt because there's not really a whole lot that confirms that actually happened. I would be interested in seeing this apostle that you're referring to that referred to that story. I don't know if I'm going to be able to take the time to like look that up myself, but if you're able to find it, then send it my way and I'll include it in a future video. Um, Ice Cream Lady Driver, responding to your comments, episode 2, says, my husband feels a bit like you. I think eventually we'll go and get it, but I don't plan to get it. I think eventually he will go and get it, but I don't plan to get it. And she's talking about the vaccine. And I completely understand that. I do. I would just ask you to pray about it, though. It's something that the first presidency felt strong enough to send out that email about. And in a follow-up email to church leadership, they basically underscored the reason why they're even wanting people to do it, and it's to be able to keep temples open. But it's a personal decision. It's not an issue of doctrine or salvation. Just pray about it and then do whatever the Spirit tells you to do. All right, it's my friend from Spain, Aritz Lizaraga Alascoaga, responding to comments episode 2. Western Europe is the main destination for the lost 10 tribes on this earth, even though there are others spread out in any continent. Yeah, and that's true. And I'm going to go, I believe that's true. And I'm going to go more into that. I'm going to add more videos to my 10 Lost Tribes playlist. I've shown you that Wikipedia article that goes through like the list of groups that claim descent from the 10 Lost Tribes. And I'm going to go over more information as well. So far, we've gone over the Cochins in India. We've also covered the Pashtuns in Afghanistan. I've made numerous mentions of the British Isles and how there's a tradition there that there's a belief that many of them are descended from the 10 Lost Tribes. And I'm going to do a future video on that. So, but yeah, I do agree that probably the main body just headed up north into mostly into Europe and probably into North Asia as well. So, and then he says another comment on the same video. Hebrew in Hebrew transliterated as Ivri and sometimes Ibri, and the ancient Iberians were called Iberi. He's talking about the Iberian Peninsula, which is where Spain and Portugal and Andorra are. I don't think that's another coincidence, even if their language was not from the same family group. For example, Brazilian Indians speak Portuguese, even though they do not have Portuguese ancestors. That leads me to the topic of the Welsh people, and that's someone that I descend through heavily. My ancestry on my mom's side, it's from literally from Portugal. She's Portuguese. My dad met her on his mission to Portugal. And then the other side, on my dad's side, it's very, very heavily English and Welsh, almost exclusively. Not completely, but all right. So that leads me to the topic of the Welsh. The Welsh language, even though it's Celtic, pronounced Celtic, yeah, I know, language has been said to be close to Hebrew, even though Hebrew is a Semitic language, like Arabic in theory. They have nothing to do with each other. Oh, I didn't know that. So you're saying that Welsh is similar to Hebrew? That I'll have to do some research into that. I find that interesting. That's according to some linguists. According to Behistun Stone, the ancient Israelites were called the Assyrians after King Omri, the king of the time of their conquest. But the Assyrians in their tongue changed the name to Cymru. Cymru is the name of Wales in Welsh. Some tribes related to the Saka were named Cimmerians. The letter C is often pronounced as K in ancient languages. For example, in Latin, all C's were pronounced like K at first, hence names like Kaiser, Caesar in Germany, coming from Latin Caesar, or Celtic, pronounced Celtic in English. Very good information. And by the way, I appreciate all the information that you've been sending me, because I know that you've sent me more information than just here in the comments, and I plan to incorporate that in future videos. It's just going to probably take me a while, so don't get I am receiving your information, and I plan to look into it more and talk about it in future videos. And then he has another comment from my video. It's becoming easier to tell the wheat from the tares. He says, "Great video. I want the separation already. I'm fed up with this world." You and me both. It's like getting really hard to bear. Just all these, these people, these worldly philosophies that are creeping into the church, especially. It's not that, I mean, we've always had tares from the beginning of the world. There's always been tares, but it's just they're becoming more recognizable. They're becoming more vocal, and more of a problem in the world and also in the church itself. And I don't like it. I do not like it. All right, and then on my short video, our Jersey heifer, Monty Michelle Wilkinson, says, "So pretty," and it's our Jersey heifer, which unfortunately we've been having some car problems, and we might have to sell our cows. I don't know if we're going to sell all of them, which is, it's not a big deal because we can just get more cows in the future. Like We can easily just go buy bottle calves. They only cost like, I usually don't purchase them for more than about $100, but you can get them usually between $50 to $100. Depends on the breed and the time of year. But it's actually kind of a good investment because like we bought a couple. I think they were $50 each. And then of course we had to buy the milk replacer, which is like $80 a bag, and a bag lasts one calf until they're weaned. Um, but then we ended up selling them for $600 each. So it was quite the profit. They really appreciate and value. So it's kind of nice. It's like having, well, I mean, they're investments essentially. It's like having an investment. So, you know, our plans were to milk these two, or to milk her. We have her this Jersey, and then we have a Jersey bull, and we are going to breed them, but that may not happen now. But that's okay. I don't really care. All right, so going on. Now it's Oritz again. He's responding to my 10 Lost Tribes, India, Cochin Jews. He says 9 hours uh, might from Cochin to Bengaluru might be long, but taking into consideration the size of India and bad infrastructure, it's not a big deal. Yeah, I agree. Relatively speaking, Cochin and Bengaluru are actually kind of close. They're both in the south of India. Um, I think from Salt Lake driving down to Vegas, which we did that just all the time. I want to say that it was like about a 6 hour drive. And then driving from Phoenix, which we lived in Phoenix, and going up to Salt Lake, that was generally about like an 11 hour to 12 hour drive. So it's not the worst thing in the world. It's, you know, here where I'm at, it takes us about 2.5 hours to drive to the Oklahoma City temple. Hopefully in the next conference, we'll get a Wichita temple. I'm really hoping for that. Okay, Kathy Price, in response to my President Russell M. Nelson, Pure Truth, Pure Doctrine, and Pure Revelation, says, I believe the highway is literal. Amazing things are about to happen. She's referring to the highway that the 10 Lost Tribes are supposed to come back on. If there actually is an actual group that are hidden somewhere on the earth. And I've done my videos about that. At this point, especially after I said in my last video that I'm at this point, I'm like almost 100% in as far as that there's not a group somewhere hidden that are going to come back in this type of way, in like a cinematic way, where they're going to come back on a literal highway of ice. So, but that's okay. I appreciate your comment, Kathy Price. And if that does happen, then that definitely will be amazing. And we're all going to love it. Okay, Richard Grant, in response to the same video, great breakdown, excellent point about DNC 88. That's referring to basically President Nelson. He had a scripture from DNC 88 in the footnotes, and DNC 88 is, as you may already know, is a really big Second Coming section with a lot of information. So I found that noteworthy. In response to Return of the 10 Lost Tribes, more amazing than the Exodus from Egypt, Betty Horn says, that's the story I was talking about, Admiral Byrd. And one thing I know for sure, prophecy fulfillment never ends up looking like what we imagine. Hence the need for discernment and personal revelation. Poor Moon, hope she gets better. Moon's the name of our calf, and she's been kind of like coughing, so we're keeping an eye on her. Yeah, I would generally agree. It's like, it's really, really hard to say exactly what, prophecy is going to look like in the future. Like, you can definitely get a sense of it. I'm trying to think of examples if there's ever been prophecy that looked the way that it sounded, right? Like you think back to um, Jacob giving his sons blessings before he passed away, and how he blessed Joseph. And I know that he gave his separate blessings to Ephraim and Manasseh, but I think he gave a blessing to Joseph in general, talking about he would be like a fruitful vine that would go across the wall, which basically our church is interpreted to mean, um, the Nephites and Lamanites, well, Lehi's family, how a branch of Joseph made it to the Americas, and so they like went over the wall of the Atlantic Ocean, and it's like there's no way just reading, if you had just read that scripture before it actually happened, that you'd be able to predict exactly what that would look like. And there's a lot of others just like that. And I think we know that that's the reason why a lot of people didn't accept Christ when he came, because they were looking beyond the mark, right? They were expecting something really incredible, and they were expecting him to come as like a super soldier, or just this really powerful being that was going to destroy their enemies and their temporal concerns. And I think that that's the danger. It's not really a danger, but like when we think about the 10 lost tribes, I think that is kind of in the same vein. I'm not calling you like Pharisees or bad for thinking that, but I think we got to be careful when we take a cinematic approach to the scriptures and what we think is going to happen. Um, I think the Lord works in very, very practical ways, which are miraculous, but not necessarily cinematic and made for Hollywood. And I don't mean that to be disrespectful, but I don't know how else to like really say that. Um, okay, Betty Horn on my Pure Truth, Pure Doctrine, and Pure Revelation video says, I think the prophet was referring to how there will be changes in policy, and he quotes the precedents for that. However, the gospel does not change. There seems to be a prevalent view that the church is changing, that it's becoming more progressive, and that if they can push boundaries, policy will change regarding things like the family proclamation. But he also says to look for pure truth. There is right and wrong. As always, as you always say, I'm rambling now. Laugh out loud. Ha ha ha. Yeah, um, I get that sense too. I think there's people that really they don't view the church. See, they go to the other extreme. They view the church as just like a worldly, or like a just a spiritual philosophy, like a good group of teachings, but they don't really take the more literal parts of the church. So there's kind of like a, not a fine line, but you have kind of two extremes. Like this group way over here that like everything is very miraculous, supernatural, magical, and then this group over here that it's like, well, it's just and you kind of you see that among the Jews. Give me just 1 second. Um, with the Jews, you have three main divisions. You have the Orthodox Jews that are very strict, very fundamentalist, take everything very literally. In the middle, you have I think they're called like conservative Jews, which are more just kind of like uh, what you would envision for like mainstream. Um, the Orthodox Jews, they're the ones that wear like the black suits and the top hat, like the black hats, and they have like the locks, on the side of their hair, and all that. But conservatives would be like more like the ones that you see here well, no, just they're more similar to like just a typical Christian congregation, just that they're Jewish. So you would go there, and it basically looks the same. Take away all the Jewish things, and then you have the Reform, which they're liberal, they're progressive, they don't really uh, believe the literal things of the Bible and the Torah, and they look at things as like metaphors and not really having happened. And I think there's kind of the same thing in the church, and they think that it's not a matter of revelation from God, um, or divine inspiration, or miracles. They think that if they just go and protest, or if they utilize their strategies, then they can push the church into their way of thinking, and that's not right. On the same video, Mary Potter says, going through the footnotes and really studying this talk, although it was short, you can see how powerful this message is. Great breakdown. I look forward to more. Thank you so much, Mary Potter. Um, I might do another one today. I don't know. Um, kind of getting a little bit of a late start to the day, but I'll be going through more conference talks. There's definitely a lot that you can get from the footnotes. Okay, on the same video, Pure Truth, Pure Doctrine, and Pure Revelation, uh, Ridicus98 says, "Hi, are you deleting my comments? I don't think you are. My comments are appropriate. They're always deleted." Yeah, no, I don't delete. There's only been a couple times that I've deleted comments. One was this guy that was saying that the Book of Mormon was inspired fiction. Um, there may have been another time on my Afghanistan video. There seems to have been someone that was sympathetic to the Taliban, and they were like talked about how great it was that the Taliban beat the United States, and so I deleted that one. But I don't delete comments. YouTube does. They'll I think it's in the interest of like stopping spam and stopping like the promotion of videos in the comments section. So if you leave a link, then I think there's a good chance that it's going to get deleted by YouTube, not me. I appreciate links because if it's additional information, I want to look at it and also be able to share it. So no, I didn't delete any of your comments. Okay, on my Return of the Lost 10 Tribes, more amazing than the Exodus from Egypt, Sam Lee says, "Where's the interview with Admiral Byrd about getting gas?" Before I started this video, I tried to find it, but I wasn't able to find it. But it's going to be somewhere in his full account of this civilization that he came in contact with. You can search Agartha, because some people, I guess, think that that civilization was called Agartha or something like that. But or like I said, you can go to Robert Seffer's channel. I'll link that below, and he does a lot of research into this kind of thing, and he does solid research. It's really good information. And then Sam Lee put another comment. I like to think God could perform any type of miracle, even an ice bridge. Laugh out loud, but I totally agree that it's more symbolic than it is literal. Yeah, I think in this case it is. We obviously know that he does do miracles, and not just like the common miracles in our lives where like money will show up when we're short on money, or um, you touch somebody's life in a way that wouldn't have happened without God's intervention. So that there definitely are actual miracles, right? We know that Joseph Smith, he had a seer stone, and with that stone, he used it to translate the Book of Mormon, along with the Nephite interpreters, which I actually found out a lot of people call it the Urim and Thummim, but the actual name for it that they used was the Nephite interpreters. Um, we know that angels really do appear, so yeah, the Lord definitely could create an actual ice bridge. In this one particular instance, I don't think that that's going to happen because of the research that I've done, looking at the footnotes in the scriptures, and when you click on the footnote for the highway, it seems to be Isaiah seems to be referencing a spiritual highway, that the lost 10 tribes will come back spiritually back into the fold. All right, in my video, Elder Russell M. Nelson, 1997, The Exodus Repeated, Lori Dancy says, when she, Wendy Nelson, went up to the pulpit to talk to the sisters, she said something she never anticipated. And then she goes on to share that story about, well, I'm just, screw it. I'm just going to read it. I'd like to get to know you by lineage, I said. Please stand. And I did this, I actually referenced this in my video about the 2018 worldwide devotional called Hope of Israel. And I've mentioned that devotional many times because it seems like that was some kind of landmark or milestone. It wasn't just like a typical worldwide devotional. That's the one where President Nelson introduced the concept of the Lord's Youth Battalion. He also talks a lot about basically the Second Coming and gathering in scattered Israel. So that's where I first heard it. But I appreciate Lori Dancy's um, reference here in her comment, because apparently she also told this at a women's conference. And then she links there's a link here for 2015, April 30th, universe.byu.edu. So it seems that she has told this story, which originally happened in 2013. She's told this story a couple times, as though to kind of like really get the word out there or start getting this idea into people's minds. Okay, so it says, I'd like to get to know you by lineage. I said, please stand as the name of the tribe of Israel, which declared in your patriarchal which declared in your patriarchal blessing is spoken. Sister Nelson said, while the women knew each other well, they didn't know each other's lineage. She said everyone was thrilled with what they were witnessing, feeling, and being taught as each of the 12 tribes of Israel were announced. We were being taught about the reality of the days in which we now live, Sister Nelson said. Let me repeat that, okay? And let me repeat that in the context of this video, and whether there is a group of 10 lost tribes or whether it's the 10 lost tribes are simply mostly in Europe and Asia and then also scattered throughout the world. We are being taught about the reality of the days in which we now live. In the small gathering of fewer than 100 women in Moscow, 11 of the 12 tribes of Israel were represented, all but the tribe of Levi. After the meeting, the Nelsons went to the airport and flew to Armenia, where Elder Nelson was set to create the first stake of Zion in the country the next day. The first people to greet them as they got off the plane were the Armenia mission president and his wife, who heard of the Moscow sisters' experience. Excuse me. The first thing she said to me was, I've got Levi, Sister Nelson said. The audience erupted with laughter. I love this story. I love it because it shows you that they really are being brought back, and it's not just Ephraim and Manasseh or even Judah. So, and it seems to me like I've heard just throughout the years. Hold on. Just anecdotal stories that I've heard, that there seems to be a prevalence of those other tribes a lot in Europe. I've heard it many different times from many different people. In response to my video, upcoming content, and nice sunset, XR Pirate says, Kansas here, tornado night, movies. Which it's interesting. Basically, there was a tornado watch going on. Or, okay, hold on. Was it a tornado watch or tornado warning? Tornado watch versus warning. There's a there's a difference between the two. Tornado watch means that the potential exists for the development of severe thunderstorms or tornadoes. Let me look at this here. Sorry. So watches conditions are favorable or expected, but not occurring or imminent. A warning is conditions are occurring or imminent. Okay, so we were under a tornado watch. We were about to go to bed. I was super tired. Thankfully, I don't work at a regular job. I'm self-employed, so I could afford to do this, but we decided to stay up because the warning went from, I don't know what time, I think like 9 p.m. until 5 in the morning. So me and my wife just decided to stay up and watch the X-Men movies. We want to go through them all by release date, which has been really good. I didn't really appreciate them at the time, but I'm really enjoying these X-Men movies. If you watch them one right after another, it's like easier to follow, and you see like the continuity between the movies, and it's really good, um, really fun. So I'd like to know, is this a common thing? Like, is that what other people here in Kansas and other places, do they typically have tornado movie nights? Because that's just like what we did. Like we could have like fallen asleep. We have sirens here in town, but like we kind of wanted just to have that extra bit of time to prepare if we had to like go somewhere, or we don't have a storm shelter here on my property. I don't think most people here in town do, but so I guess we would just either go in the bathroom, or if for some reason we felt we could like drive away, maybe we would do that. But maybe that's dangerous. I don't know. But that's what we did. We stayed up. It was a really late night. Um, I hate it when my sleep schedule gets tampered with. It's the worst. But that's what happened. Okay. And then Donna Crimmins on the same video. Really pretty. Talking about the sunset that I was filming. Wow, on the tornado. You need a tornado cellar. Uh, is that what they're called? Yeah, I don't know. I think so. Well, cellar, I'm not sure. Probably like a storm shelter. I usually think of cellars as like for food storage and stuff, but I don't know. I'm not from Kansas. I've only been living here for coming up on 2 years now. And then another one by Donna Crimmins, same video. Um, I've listened to you some on the Lost Tribes and Michael Rush. I need to listen more because I am lost. I'm not. I am not sure you and him are even on the same page. I must take more responsibility and listen more about all the Lost Tribe thing. I know some say, study the scriptures myself, but I would know even less if I read them. Yeah, I can understand that. It's actually I don't know who Michael Rush is, or maybe I have watched his stuff before, but I just don't remember the name. So and I'm not saying that my point of view is right, but I'm just kind of, again, I'm more on the side that the Lost 10 tribes are just scattered throughout the world. There's not a group hidden somewhere that's going to come back in spaceships or or whatever on a literal highway of ice that comes up out of the ocean. Could happen. My view is that the majority of the Lost Tribes just travel north into Europe, and then there's pockets uh, of communities throughout the world, like India, Afghanistan, British Isles, and there's more, possibly Japan, China, other places. Um, and then, of course, just genetically speaking, I know I've heard it said before that literally, with as many generations have gone by since the time of Israel, literally everybody on Earth probably has some of that DNA in them. So, but I think there is a difference between those that just have like a tiny bit of DNA, and then those that still kind of have their community and beliefs intact, or at least there's like a large clustering of people with a significant amount of original Israelite DNA. And then of course the Jews themselves that are the probably the best established as far as that goes, and then us here in the church, which I think a lot of us literally do have that uh, Israelite DNA, and but we forgot who we were over time because of being conquered by Assyria and being scattered and mixing in with local populations and being conquered, and just the passage of time taking its toll, and apostasies and so forth. So, all right. And then another comment on my 1997 The Exodus Repeated video. Kathy Skidmore says, I already felt this, that this had already occurred, but this just nailed it for me. Yeah, it did for me too. I'm really glad that I came across that article. I can't even remember what the heck I was doing, but I came across that article and I didn't even realize it at first. I was just like, oh, okay, this will be good for a future video. And, I kind of noted some things, but then when I like actually, dug into it, I found those just absolute gems that I think really make the case that there is not a hidden group of 10 lost tribes. I really do. I really do, especially since this was written by President Nelson. This was back before he was prophet, but the Lord knew that he was going to become prophet. Um, Clearly, he's been thinking about scattered Israel for a very long time. Now he has the actual keys to gather in scattered Israel. So these were his thoughts back then. Could he have been wrong? I guess so. I don't think so, though. I don't think so. On the same video, got another comment from Monty Michelle Wilkinson. It does feel right, and that we have been subtly told over time. If we would just have the ears to hear and the eyes to see. Many of us have felt awakened more in the past couple of years. It has been slowly building. As a child, I always loved to hear the latter-day prophecy, but probably imagined things in a more fantastical way. I've revisited those thoughts, but earnestly sought for the Spirit to understand what the Lord wants me to know about these latter days. I'm so glad you found this article about then Elder Nelson's fireside. I haven't heard it before. That plus the comments from his wife about the 10 tribes. It's talked about more and more. It is before us now. With the technology we have, we are blessed to find out more and more about each other, this continuing restoration. I'm seeing Jeremiah 23, 7 and 8 differently now. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Absolutely for sure. He flat out referenced that in his talk. It's clear that the now current prophet, that's how he views that scripture. He doesn't view it in a separate group of lost 10 tribes at the center of the earth. At the center of the earth. Appreciate that comment. And yeah, there is definitely, like you said, kind of an awakening in many different areas, um, many different topics, not just in the church, but worldwide, uh, thanks to the internet. Now that we can really do the research, share it with each other, um, easily access information without having to go, to a library and then, write a book about it and then hope that the book gets published. It's a lot easier to do research and share it. Although we do have to be careful because, a lot of this isn't necessarily academic research. Like I'm not an academic. That's why I rely a lot on these actual scriptures and talks because I want it to come from an actual source, and we just got to be careful not to get carried away with like the exciting or fantastical things because the more exciting or fantastical it is, um, the more likely it is that it probably isn't true. Not that it isn't, but we just have to be careful. But I really think that this is a good talk as well. On that same video, Sam Lee says, "Very nice find, my good sir." Thank you. Nat and Joe Christensen, wow, great video. Thanks for sharing. Thank you for watching. And you guys, if you can, share this video. Share it on Facebook. Share it, whatever, wherever you're at. If you're on Twitter, Discord, Reddit, whatever. I would appreciate that support and to help the channel grow. And I think that stuff like this, that, clearly there's other people that are probably aware of this talk, but I don't think it's like common knowledge. And maybe we should kind of get that spread out there. Yeah. All right. So that ends this episode, comments 3. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, like this video if you liked it, hit the notification bell, keep leaving your comments. I love to hear everything that you say. I learn a lot from what you guys say, and then share the video. And I'll talk to you guys later.